Hello guys, the coin here once again to give you an update on Bitcoin, and I have some new information here. So, like we can see here, um, Bitcoin is having very hard time to get back to around 9,430. In my opinion, I believe that the point of no return has been reached. And the reason why I say that, let me take away these pivots here. And the reason why I say that is because this alligator indicator, it has clearly trespassed this blue line. And if you want to understand what happened the last time this happened, this was here. Look, on the way up, on the way up, since Bitcoin recovered from the last crash, it took a while. It recovered. The green line led the way. It touched it a couple of times, never touching the blue line, and now that blue line has been breached. So I believe that we are on the way down. You can see here the same exact thing. So it took a little bit of a while after the dump. After this dump here, that's when the green line crossed the blue one, and then we had that dump. In comparison to the stock market, we haven't seen that yet. We still have to see it. It was a slow rise, like we can see here. So the indicators had actually time only, I guess, after this dump. When the stock market started to dump in this price level 27,941, that's when the green line breached all the way down. So this has been a fast movement to the upside. Now we have to wait and see what this green line if the green line, this has something to do with the moving averages as well. So, but the thing is that that line has been breached on Bitcoin, and that is actually something important, like we can see in here. Take a look at the Dow Jones. When that happened, it was a point of no return. We haven't reached that level yet into the stock market, but another big dump into the 24,840, that might indicate that. I'm just waiting for it because it's like I said, I'm not bullish at all with what is going on with the stock market, especially now with Bitcoin, because in my opinion, the point of no return has already happened. I guess yesterday, when Bitcoin failed to get to this trend line that you can't even see anymore unless you zoom in or you zoom out. See this trend line in here? It was empirical. It was absolutely empirical for Bitcoin to continue this trend line. It has been breached. The alligator indicator is already signaling a move to the downside. So like I said, guys, I believe this is the start of the dump. In comparison, the stock market has also started to dump a little bit, not too hard, but once again, even in here we can start to understand that the trend line that was coming from above has been breached as well. So the stock market itself, it's already on the way down. I never draw a trend line in here, but I can do that from the top from the top. From the top, you know, reaching these levels here. So even the stock market, the Dow Jones, is already below that trend line that I'm talking about, that I was indicating. So let me just, yep, that sounds right. So the trend line, it tried to go, so when it started to breach, it tried to go above a little bit, then in here, it tried in here as well, but now the stock market, the Dow Jones, is actually starting to fall. And yeah, the final confirmation is still lacking. You know, like I said, I'm still looking at the alligator forest to tell us that the stock market, especially the Dow Jones, is going down. That hasn't happened yet. We are seeing here that it happened on the 4-hour, but the one day is a lot better. It's a better long-term indicator. So like we can see here, it still hasn't crossed that line. So we still have to wait a little bit for that. But yeah, I believe that Bitcoin has already reached the point of no return in regards of turning around. Like I said, the one-day indicators are already telling the whole story here. So, and like we saw in here as well, you know, there's a lot of pressure, but once it breached, you know, there was kind of a big dump to the 84 level. Kind of like we had in here. No, that's not it. That's it. Here, this is the one. Kind of the one that we had in here, but yeah. What can I say, guys? That's what I'm seeing in the chart. So it wasn't able to go above that trend line that I was drawing, and yeah, and now the alligator, another indicator, is telling us that yeah, things are not looking bright. Things are not looking bright at all. Let me just put the drawings back together. So this is the trend line I was talking about. It hasn't been able to go above it, and yeah, I believe from now on we're going to start to dump. I guess it will take a little bit of time, but yeah, that's basically what I'm seeing here in the charts. In regards of the blockchain information, I guess nothing much has happened. Let me just check real quickly about what's going on in the miners, in the Bitcoin mining industry. Let's just take a look. So in regards of mining revenue, that's, you know, things are continuing to going down. So this information hasn't changed a lot since I first streamed about it. So I guess tomorrow we may have some more data. The total hash rate, I guess there was a little bit of movement here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, total hash rate is also starting to plummet a little bit. I thought this was a turnaround, but that might not be the case. We still have to wait, because like I said, you know, as the price plummets, you know, the miner revenue continues to get a lot very difficulty, you know. The difficulty is went up, which makes everything much worse. So that means that the equation to mine a block has become more difficulty. It takes more time. So That's what I'm talking about. So we can actually see if we can see any other data that might be of interest. Cost percentage of transaction volume. Yeah, cost percentage of transaction volume. So in that alone, we also can see that it plummets. I don't think that has much influence in all this. Let's check out the cost per transaction. Yeah, the cost per transaction has been actually going down as well, because there's less congestion in here, I guess. Cost per transaction, look at this, in May 3rd, $69, fucking incredible. So now we're sitting at 27 bucks. Let's check here, cost of, we already saw that. But yeah, basically what we need to take here into consideration is the total hash rate, the network difficulty, and the miner's revenue, which, once again, this is, besides all the technical analysis in the stock market and everything else, this is what is really affecting the miners, and for them not becoming profitable. That's basically it. So that's what I'm seeing in the charts. Like I said, I don't believe this. I believe the stock market will go further down than the first dump. I have absolutely no confidence whatsoever about the stock market. They manipulated it for so long after the dump to try to stabilize it and not to bring the bears to the market. But I don't believe this is the bottom, guys. When you shut down the world for 2.5 months or 3 months or whatever, things are not going back to normal as quickly, and this curve in the middle of a worldwide lockdown, that tells you enough about the stock market, which is completely manipulated. Because if everybody's not working, not creating any productivity, man, how the hell is the stock market recovering when everybody is at home, not doing their jobs? So like I said, I don't believe this is it. I don't believe that this is the bottom here. It just doesn't add up, guys. In my opinion, I don't know if we have any data from 2013 or from 1913. I don't believe we have that kind of data here, although it should be available. So we only have data. Oh yeah, we have it. We have the data here. So just take a look, and I can go back and see how much percentage the Dow Jones actually lost. So in, was it 1913? Well, no, but this was actually a bigger crash. 1932. So let me check how much the stock market actually dropped here. It's completely incredible, man. So the stock market, the Dow Jones, actually lost about 89.67%. Wow, that is really something, man. So that was between 1929 and 1932. And unfortunately, how things are actually going, how things are actually going with the world economy, and once again, stating the fact that once again, the world economy shut down for about 3 months, that could be the case once again. But let's just see where it would put the Dow Jones. 89 fucking percent, man. Incredible. 89%. So I guess we have to do it from this top here. Let me just see if this is the reality in the time span of the next 3 years. if this is the reality for the next 3 years, let's see where it would put us. You know, because like I said, I still believe that that the economic environment that we're living right now is much worse than the Great Depression. So let's see where 89% would put us in here. Just means of comparison. So this is 38%. So we already dropped 38%, right? So let's see where that will put us in 89%. Let's continue to put it down. Still a way to go. 89%, still. $89%, guys. If the stock market or the Dow Jones would drop, like it dropped between 1929 and 1932 or 33, if the stock market was to lose that value, so in the time span of about 3 years, we're talking about 3,250 points. So now, if you want to tell me that it is impossible, I don't know. I believe that it's a real possibility, because once again, man, we not even in the Great Depression, you know, we had something like this. So if you want to tell me that it's completely impossible, well, I don't think so. I don't think so. And once again, you know, taking in comparison, you know, just from the last drop, so Bitcoin lost around 60%, where the stock market or the Dow Jones only lost 30%. So if that data would also to be true, that on average Bitcoin drops twice as much as the stock market or the Dow Jones, so let's put that into perspective into Bitcoin as well. So let's say double 89%. 89%. Let's check out how it would look like. This is just a hypothesis, of course. Nothing of this can actually come true, but you know, it's just a measure of comparison to check out how it would bring us. So it would bring us to 178%. So let's just for indulging me and my curiosity to see if BTC would have dropped 189% in the span of 3 years. Let's see where it would put it. So let's get rid of this. So we have to start to count from where? Let me just see here. I guess I had to do it since the initial drop as well. So the initial drop, this would be the one. So we're talking about 178% about that. Let me just check where it would bring us. %. So only now we're at around 100%. I guess it won't even let me get to the 178%, you know. So we can start to understand if these numbers were to be true, or if they would mimic, we would see single digits or below single digits. I guess this will only let you calculate until 100% if I'm not mistaken. But let's just see. Let's just see. 199. Yeah, it won't let me go above 100%. I guess. Yeah, it won't let me do that. So, yeah. So these numbers are, at least as of right now, of course, out of the window. I'm not even saying that that this is a capability. And once again, I forgot to stream that. But so yeah, if, like I said, if on average, Bitcoin loses half or double, like it did on the last stock market crash. Bitcoin lost double the value of the stock market. So if the stock market and the Dow Jones is supposed to get lower than its first drop in March, then I'm making these outrageous comparisons, but we just have to understand what we can count on or not. So that's why I'm doing this. But it could be what it means in the future, man. Who knows? The bottom line is that Bitcoin it hasn't been around that much, but we have to take everything into consideration. And once again, I forgot to split screen. Yeah. But let me just show you the Dow Jones, how much it actually dropped. It's completely incredible. It lost 89% of its value in a span of 3 years or so. This was a very rapid move. It didn't take that long at all. Just take a look at it. Just take a look at this, man. So it was a very fast move. Very fast. So let's see if I can time frame it. Yeah. So since this top here, so let's see. So the top was on August 1929, and it bottomed out in the 1st of June 1932. So this move actually took only 3 years, man. Incredible, man. 3 years. In 3 years, the stock market, the Dow Jones, lost 89.81%. Incredible, man. Incredible. So let's see if we have data for the S&P, which I believe we should as well. Yeah, I guess there is some data here. Let me just check the value as well. Yeah, the S&P. Oh, but the S&P is much, the data. The S&P hasn't been around for that long, so we only have data here since 1971. But yeah, we can actually check out this drop in here as well. So this was in between what? So this drop here was between, so almost 50%. It dropped 50% in a time span of December 1st, 72, and the bottom was in 1974. So 2 years, I guess. let's see if I can find this time frame as well. So this was the biggest drop, so 1913. So yeah, that's the reason why the 1913 crash is not even here as well. But like we can see here, yeah, man, that was big. Let's let's check out other crashes here, so we can have time and comparison in here. That's not it. So let's check out. Yeah, this was the major one, at least recorded until now, because you know there is no data from 1913 here, so we can only assume. But that was the biggest crash in stock market history, at least as story actually tells us. I can actually try to find a paper to tell us that. So in this move, so this was in yeah, this was even faster, man. 50% move in what? Let me see. 50% move. Let's see what time span that was. Yeah, in the weekly we can actually see some crashes here and there. Yeah, this was the one that I was looking for. So we can see here clearly it wasn't, yeah, like that. So in this crash here, so the Dow Jones lost 89% of its value, and this one, it lost 50% of its value. So this move took what? So this was on March 1st, 1937, and we hit bottom in 1938. So this move only takes, this 50% loss only took 1 year. About that. And the stock market lost 50%. Wow. Now let me see if I can see anything significant in here. Maybe this one. Maybe this one. Let's check it out. So let's check out this one. Yeah, roughly 46%. Roughly 46%. So this was from let's check, from January 73, and the bottom was made on December 74. So once again, it was less than a year. The stock market lost 46% of its value in less than a year. So let me check out this one. So in this one, yeah, the Dow Jones lost 42% of its value. That was between, another flash crash, kind of, you know. So that was between August 1987, and it bottomed out on October 1987. Wow. Let's see if we can see something similar. Oh, the 2007, 2009. Let's see how this was here. In 2008, that was the last the last biggest one, or the last big one, is whatever you want to call it. So between August of 2007 and 2009, the stock market lost 54% of its value. 54% of its value. So let me put it again in here. So until now we lost roughly 38%. 38%. So where would 50% put us? Yeah, 50%. So 50% would put us at 14,796. If 55, this value on the fib one. So 55%. Yep, it could put us at around 13,231. The span of it, I don't know. This is just simulation to check out, yeah, what is possible, what is not. So the biggest drop recorded here was 89%. And once again, you know, I'm just taking a look at all this because how historically this is, you know, because this is supposedly the biggest recession since 1913. Unfortunately, we don't have the data, but I can actually look for it. Let me just see if I find any information about the stock market crash in 1913. Just let me take a look. Stock market crash 1913. Wall Street crash. No, I guess this was the one then. In 1929, then I'm actually spot on. This was the biggest one. Yeah. But I believe there was a depression as well in 1913. Let's check out when Black Monday was actually. Black Monday in 1987. But let me see, 1913 stock market crash. Or I'm confusing things, and we are really talking about 1929. So I'm just taking a look here at some information, but I can share that as well. Let me just take a look here. Do you imagine 89%? 89% crash on the stock market. It's really fucking insane, but you understand what it would mean if it can happen. Well, it happened before, so if anyone is too quick to say that, nah, that can't happen, why the hell do you believe that it cannot happen? So let's check out here. Market crashes a sudden dramatic decline of stock prices across major cross section of the stock market, resulting in a significant loss of paper wealth to wipe your ass. Crashes are driven by panic selling as much as underlying economics factor. They often follow speculation and economic bubbles. They say this is the biggest one of all, you know, this economic bubble, the everything bubble. That's what they call this. So yeah, let's check out the panic of 1907. So in 1907 and in 1908, stock prices fell by nearly 50% due to a variety of factors, led by the manipulation of copper stocks by Knickerbocker Trust Company. Shares of the United Copper rose gradually up in October and therefore crashed, leading a panic. Several investment trusts and banks that had invested their money into stock market fell and started to close down. Further bank runs were prevented due to an intervention of who? J.P. Morgan. The panic continued to 1908 and led to the formation of the Federal Reserve. Yeah, that was the big event, guys. That was the big event. J.P. Morgan intervened, and with a couple of his buddies, you know, it led to the formation of 1913. Ever heard of the Jekyll Island? Is that what it's called? Jekyll Island. The monster of Jekyll Island. You know. But let's check out here the Wall Street crash of 1929, because apparently this was the biggest one. Although the 1907 was important because of the formation of the Federal Reserve. You know, the criminals. We have let's check out what happened in the Wall Street crash of 1929. The economy grew for most of the Roaring '20s. It was a technological golden age, as innovations such as the radio, automobile, aviation, telephone, and the electric power transmission grid were deployed and adopted. Companies that had pioneered these advances, including Radio Corporation of America and General Motors, saw their stocks soar. Financial corporations also did well, as Wall Street bankers floated mutual fund companies, then known as investment trusts, like the Goldman Sachs Trading Corporation. Investors were infatuated with the returns available in the stock market, especially by the use of leverage through margin debt. So that's where it started. On August 24th, 1921, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, DJIA, was at 63.9. By September 3rd, 1929, it had risen more than sixfold to 381.2. It did not regain these levels for another 25 years. By the summer of 1929, it was clear that the economy was contracting, and the stock market went through a series of unsettling price declines. These declines fed investors' anxiety, and events came to a head on October 20th, 28th, and 29th, known respectively as Black Thursday, Black Monday, and Black Tuesday. On Black Monday, the Dow Jones fell 38.33% to 260, a drop of 12.8%. The deluge of selling overwhelmed the ticker tape system that normally gave investors the current price of their shares. Telephone lines and telegraphs were clogged and were unable to cope. This information vacuum only led to more fear and panic. The technology of the new era, previously much celebrated by investors, now served to deepen their suffering. The following day, Black Tuesday, was a day of chaos. Forced to liquidate their stocks because of margin calls, overextended investors flooded the exchange with sell orders. The Dow fell 30.57 points to close at 230.07 on that day. The glamour stocks of that age saw their value plummet. Across the 2 days, the Dow Jones fell 23%. So by the end of the week of November 11th, 1929, The index stood at 228, a cumulative drop of 40% from the September high. The markets rallied in succeeding months, but it was a temporary recovery that led unsuspecting investors into further losses. The Dow Jones lost 89% of its value before finally bottoming out in July 1932. The crash was followed by the Great Depression, the worst economic crisis of modern times, which plagued the stock market and Wall Street through the 1930s. So let's see some parallels in here. So they say that in November 1929, by the weekend of 11th, 1929, the index stood at 228, a cumulative drop of 40% from the September high. So let's make some comparisons in here, because I believe these are the same numbers. So these are I believe these are the same numbers here, because I believe that the stock market actually also dropped about 40%. Almost about 38% it dropped. So then they say, what do they say after that? So a cumulative drop of 40% from the September high. The markets rallied in succeeding months, but it was a temporary recovery. So what are the parallels that we're seeing right now? I guess this is it. This is what happened in between 1929 and 1931 as well. So I guess this is the recovery, right? This is the recovery. So let's see what they say any further. But it was a temporary recovery that led unsuspecting investors into further losses. So they say that by the weekend of November 11th, 1929, the index stood at 228, a cumulative drop 40% from the September high. The markets rallied in succeeding months, but it was a temporary recovery that led unsuspecting investors into further losses. The Dow Jones lost 89% of its value before finally bottoming out in July 1932. So yeah, so if this is the case, guys, and I believe that this is exactly playing out like it did between 1929 and 1932. You know, we had the crash, we had the initial crash, then the recovery, and now we will have a second crash. So like I said, guys, I believe these 80% or around 89%, between 80 to 89% is perfectly achievable for the markets to do that, you know. So in 1929 or 1930, the stock market lost 40% in the first wave. So we already lost 38%, and then we recovered, I believe this is going to play out just like the Great Depression, guys. So after that, the stock market recovered around 51.48%. So if the stock market is about to lose, it has to be even more than 48%. No, it 35. Let's see. I will have to investigate this further, because I believe this is going to happen exactly the same way. So another 40%. Is this it? could that be it? Because it talked about 80% in loss of value. Yeah, because if they're talking about 80%, roughly 80%, or 89%, it actually lost 89%, not 80%. Right? So yeah, the Dow Jones lost 89% of its value. So we were only 1% behind in this last crash. So 89%. Yeah, once again we did this exercise before. Man, I need to refresh this. Too much crap in here. Yeah, I like to make comparisons, and I like to take a look at history of what happened before. And the bottom line is, I don't believe this is any coincidence, man. That basically in the first wave, the stock market in 1929 actually dropped around 40%, and by the end of the crash, it lost around 80%. So yeah, so basically we are only about 2 points out. So let's do this exercise. Instead of making 89%, let's just make 80% to round the numbers. Because I'm convinced now that I read this article and how close this first crash was, just let me just take a look at where it would lead us. I'm taking 9% off. I'm not even taking a look at the 89%. I'm just going to see where the crash leads us at 80%. That would leave us after the bottoming. It could take 3 years. I thought it would take longer, but it was only 3 years. So that would take the Dow Jones to 5,970%. So I'm very convinced that these 80% are possible. You know, it was 89%. We were kind of one or 2% off this time. So we are having a temporary rally, like, you know, many people actually believe, and then the pain is going to come really hard. And once again, I have to put this information into perspective because, like I said, you know, so Bitcoin, the stock market lost roughly about 40%, and I can do that, can make that comparison once again. So the stock market dropped almost 40%, 38.42. Let's check how much the Bitcoin market dropped. So Bitcoin, let's check how much Bitcoin lost in value. So the stock market lost 38%. Bitcoin lost 63%. Not doubling, but roughly 20 more. So if we make this math right, so that means that if the stock market drops whatever it drops, Bitcoin drops another 20 more, drops 20 more percent. So yeah, man, 80%. Oh, Jesus. So if the stock market would drop 80%, let's just put that into perspective. It would need to drop about 100% or whatever. Let me just check here. So let's put this into perspective, and let's put Bitcoin losing 80%. 80% would put Bitcoin at around 2086. But that's putting on par with the stock market, so we could still be talking about 90%. Who knows? 90%. Yeah, and it actually comes here into the level of these fib channels here. $1,000. Yeah, I believe that could be fair. If the stock market is to lose about 80% of its value, and since we have determined that in the last crash, Bitcoin lost 20% more of value than the stock market or the Dow Jones, I don't even want to put this at 100% because, you know, I can put this at 100%, I guess. Or can I? No, I can, but, you know, the value will be completely ridiculous. Try to put this at 100%. It will be hard. %. So we're now at 99.87%. Let's see if we can reach the 100%. The single digits, man, that would be incredible. So we're now at around 4 cents, $4, still in dollar value. That would put us about 9%, $1.28. Here it is. That would put the price of Bitcoin 52 cents. Of course, this is all everything is speculation at this point. But let's say that the Dow Jones loses 80% of its value, and let's say that Bitcoin loses 20% more of its value. So, like putting it at around 100%. So that's nominally what we're talking about: 52 cents a Bitcoin. I'm not saying that is impossible, but like I'm saying, you know, well, in Bitcoin, it's you know, it's hard to get to that point. But the bottom line is, yeah, the Dow Jones actually dropped 40% in the Great Depression, in the first drop. So it means that it recovered, and then it dropped to that level and lost 49 more percent. Can you imagine that? So it dropped 40%. It had to drop another 49% after the lows of the first drop. Look, that's what I'm like to see. You know, I'm not saying that is going to happen, and I don't know how long it will take. But the bottom line is, it only took about 3 years for that to happen. But yeah, man, 89%. That's really fucking incredible. But yeah, it is what it is. Of course, these numbers could be wrong, but like I'm seeing a lot of parallels, you know, because the thing is that in this first crash, the Dow Jones lost 38%, so roughly 2% shy of what happened in 1929, right? And like I said, man, I don't like these numbers because, you know, not only for the stock market and the economy itself, but in regards of what does that mean for Bitcoin, you know? Because if Bitcoin has a tendency to drop even more than than the Dow Jones, then yeah, it could bring Bitcoin really around $1,000 or whatever, you know, because that's what we saw. So the stock market dropped 38% and Bitcoin dropped 60 something percent. So I'm just saying. So this crash really has to be a very fast one, so that in 2021, November 2021, Bitcoin to be at all-time highs. I don't see that, man. We're only roughly 1 year and what? 1 year and 6 months off. So that Bitcoin and the stock market must bottom out still this year, so that Bitcoin can have its bull run until can have its bull run in the beginning of January, I guess. So yeah, that would put that Bitcoin would need to start to recover on January 2021, so that it could be at all-time highs in November 2021. I don't know. I'm not seeing this very realistic, you know. But because our model's predicting that, I don't know. Maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. But if the stock market has to drop 80% at least, I'm not even talking about the 89%, because that's what I'm talking about for the person that is listening to me. I was just checking the history. So the stock market back in March dropped around 38%. In the depression of 1929, in the first drop, the market, the Dow Jones actually dropped 40%. After it's all said and done, when it bottomed out 2 years later, and in the bottom, the Dow Jones lost 89% of its value. 89% of its value since the beginning of the crash. So I'm starting to make a little bit of math here, and if that is the case right now, which it's like I said, you know, it's very coincidental that the drop of the Dow Jones was only 2% off since the last Great Depression in 1929. So if the stock market or the Dow Jones, I'm not even talking about the Nasdaq and the S&P, because the Nasdaq and the S&P obviously weren't around. But if the Dow Jones is to lose about 80% in a span of 3 years, wow, what would that mean for the price of Bitcoin? Because I was checking the price of Bitcoin, the drop of Bitcoin as well. And it dropped. So the Dow Jones dropped 38% and Bitcoin dropped 62%, if I'm not mistaken. So what would it mean for the Dow Jones to drop at least 80%? I'm not even talking about the 89%. So if the Dow Jones is to drop 80%, how much will be Bitcoin worth? Below 1,000? Yeah, I guess that person, the person that was watching, you know, he must have run away. No, that's what I saw in here, guys. I saw that in here, and yeah, I decided to make a little bit of an investigation. But yeah, like we're seeing right now, so Bitcoin is dropping right now. Bitcoin is dropping. The futures market is dropping as well. Let me take a look at the Dow Jones, DJI. Yeah, the Dow Jones is at a support, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just check here. Let's put out the pivots in here. Yep. So sitting at support right now. So these are the numbers, guys, and once again, I believe that Bitcoin already reached that point of no return. Point of no return for Bitcoin, because it was not able to come back to that very important trend line here. This trend line, it lost it, tried to come back, lost again, and that indicator here, the alligator indicator on the 1 day, is very, 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 very bearish right now. This indicator here, let's take the pivots away again, because these are supports and resistance. Just take a look, guys. Resistance, it came exactly to this pivot point. So that means that Bitcoin losing this support area here, it will go down at least to 84.61. If it doesn't hold it, it will drop to 79.91. If that doesn't hold, we have 72.45. But like I said, I believe that Bitcoin is already at the point of no return because of the alligator indicator. Because this green line, this green average, moving average, I believe, because these are moving averages here, it already crossed the blue one. And let me show you what happened the last time this happened here, before the last crash. Yeah, this green line also dropped here. So if this is a omen of what is about to happen, is yeah, just taking a look at these pivot points. Yeah, basically what happened is that Bitcoin actually found support at 85.83. So it looks like this is the area where it will find support as well. 84.61. Like I said, look, the green line, the green moving average dropped below the blue one. Bitcoin crashed, recovered a little bit, tried to go back to the pivot point. The pivot point, which kindly coincidences with where it started to drop almost. So I believe we will see some kind of a movement like this. You know, Bitcoin will lose the support, find support here at support 1, 84.78. I guess it will try to go back and fail. Then coming back to support 2, although it didn't even bother. It just went to support 2 like nothing. Support 1, yeah, went to support 2. I guess it stayed here a little bit, consolidating, and then went to support 3 just like nothing. So yeah. So I believe that's what we're going to see in the Bitcoin markets. Like I said, guys, you know, the green moving average has already breached the blue one, so I believe that we're at the point of no return anymore. So we are recovering a little bit, and then after that, I think it's game over. I don't know how much it will drop. For you that is missing the stream, you know, I was just talking about the 1929. The 1929 crash. The first time the Dow Jones crashed in 1929, or yeah, in 1929, it dropped 40%. This time we crashed 38%. We were 2% off. After all was said and done, the Dow Jones after all the crashes, when it bottomed out at 89% loss 2 years later. So this move took about 3 years to happen. The Dow Jones lost 89% of its value. So is history going to repeat itself again? Will it take another 2 years for Bitcoin for the Dow Jones to lose about 80%? I'm not even putting in the 89 into perspective, just 80%. If that would be the case, how long will take? And I saw a parallel that, once again, the stock market, the Dow Jones lost 38% of its value, while Bitcoin lost 63% of its value in the first crash. So if the Dow Jones is about to lose 80% total, where will it put the price of Bitcoin? How much will it be worth if Bitcoin drops another 20% more than the Dow Jones? That's my question here, and that maybe would put it in line about $500 a Bitcoin. I don't know. Look, I'm just making here some math. I'm just making some comparisons between the stock market, the Great Depression from 1929 to 1932, where the Dow Jones lost 89% of its value, and on the first crash, the Dow Jones lost 40%, and let's forward to now, the Dow Jones lost 38% of its value in March. So I don't know, is history about to repeat itself? Are we going to take another 2 years before the stock market or the Dow Jones bottoms out? Will it take that long as well for Bitcoin to bottom out? Where will we see Bitcoin? In the 2 digits, the 3-digit area? I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but if it is true that history likes to rhyme, then that's what we should be expecting. But yeah, I'm just making a lot of speculation right now. Of course, this is speculation because nobody can see the future. Of course, we can take parallels from the past, and we will have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, the reality is, and the truth is that the Dow Jones lost 89% in the last depression, in between 1929 and 1932. It lost 89% of its value, man. 89%. So we have to take that into consideration, because there's a lot of people, a lot of economists, saying that what is happening right now, because of the whole economy staying still for about 2.5 or 3 months, the world economy shut down. They're already saying it's worse than the Big Depression. So if it is worse than the Big Depression, we should take that into consideration, that we might actually drop as much as, or the stock market should drop as much as it did in the Great Depression. And I'm not even considering the 89%. I just made a comparison for the Dow Jones and the stock market drop only 80%. And like I said, on average, just taking a look at the last crash, the comparison that I did was that so the stock market lost, the Dow Jones lost 48%, Bitcoin lost 62%. So on average, Bitcoin should lose 20% more than the Dow Jones. So once again, that's why I'm asking myself, if we are seeing the scenario of the stock market or the Dow Jones to lose 80% of its value, how much will Bitcoin be worth when it bottoms out as well? Triple digits? Double digits? I don't know. But yeah, that's what I want to take people into consideration. I'm not saying that is going to happen. What I know right now, according to the charts, is that I believe that Bitcoin is already at the point of no return, where it will start to drop hard. It's trying to correct itself, like we can see here in this moving average, this green one. It already went below the blue one. So once again, the last time that happened was right here, when the green line went below the blue one. You know, what happened? The crash started. We're not seeing these scenarios on the Dow Jones and in the other stock market. We're not seeing it yet. But if this is an omen, then it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. But yeah, once again, these are my 2 cents about it. So I'm the coin, and I'm out for now.